In 2.4, you learned about ratios, rates, and proportions. So let me just review you just a little bit on terms that are important for this section. First of all, the term ratio is a comparison of two quantities by division, and those quantities typically have the same units. So I could compare 20 minutes to 30 minutes. The like units would cancel out, and then I reduce the number. So 20 over 30 would reduce to be 2/3. A rate, the definition of a rate includes the definition of a ratio, so it is a ratio, but it compares to different units, something like 6 miles to 20 minutes. So I would not have any units to cancel out. My fraction, the 6/20ths will reduce to 3/10, but I keep the units. So this would be the rate, and then just a general description or how I could word that would be 3 miles in 10 minutes. Then we had the definition of a unit rate. Now a unit rate is a rate, so it carries the same definition of what you just saw, two different units. However, the denominator is 1. So if I started out, let me kind of show you on this one, with 144 miles in 3 hours, and I was asked to find the unit rate, then if I want this denominator that's right now 3, if I want it to be 1, I need to divide it by 3. So I divide both the numerator and the denominator by 3 so that the ratio or the rate stays the same. I'm just simplifying it. When I divide by 3, I would get 48 miles in 1 hour. And then the way that we read a unit rate is we pretty much drop the 1. So we're saying we're traveling 48 miles per. That's the standard for that unit rate per whatever the unit is in the denominator, hour. Okay. And then lastly, proportion. Now, proportion can use either ratios or rates, but it's a statement that they're equal to each other. So it's a fraction equal to a fraction. Okay. All right, so let's look now at your example problem. This is on page 45 in the Learning Guide. Write the ratio in simplest fractional form, 120 miles to 80 miles. So notice it is a ratio, so we have like units, 120 miles to 80 miles. The like units would cancel out, so then I'm left with just the 120 over 80. Now I could divide the numerator and the denominator both by 40, because the numerator is 3 times 40, the denominator is 2 times 40. If I cancel out the like factors of 40, I'm left with 3 halves. All right. Number 2 says write the rate as a fraction in simplest form. So it is a rate since the units are different. 964 calories over 8 servings. So I would simplify the fraction. Now it looks like both of those are divisible by 4. So if I divide the numerator by 4, and I'm just going to write kind of every step here, but that would be 241 times 4 over 2 times 4 calories over servings. So we cancel out the common factor of 4, and I'm left with 241 calories for 2 servings. If I wanted to change that to a unit rate, I would need to divide both the numerator and denominator by 2. Okay. Number 3 asks us for a unit rate, 3,612 branches per 42 trees. So branches per 42 trees. And remember, in a unit rate, we want this denominator to be 1. So to get it to be 1, we would divide it by 42. Well, that would change the value of the fraction unless I divide the numerator also by 42. So let's divide the numerator by 42 and the denominator by 42, which would be in the numerator 86 branches over 1 tree, and then the unit rate description of that, we would say that's 86 branches per tree. Okay. Now for A, we're going to solve a proportion, and we have a rule with proportions that if we are starting with A over B is equal to C over D, I can cross multiply. So A times D would equal B times C. Okay. It doesn't matter the order that you do it in. You could have BC equals AD, you could have CB equals DA. Since multiplication is commutative, we just want to cross multiply. So let's first do negative 3 times 40, which is negative 120, equals 8x. We want to divide both sides by 8. 8s would cancel. Okay, here I'm going to simplify. I've got both of these are divisible by 8. Negative 120 divided by 8 actually gives me a negative 15 is equal to x. So the solution is negative 15. Remember that you can check these. If I plug back in a negative 15 here, we cross multiply, you should get the same value. Oops. There you go.